Mike. I'm just recording your training video for Photoshop and Photor since we're on a little hiatus here. We can't use the machines in SEO 1200. So I'm giving you a browser-based option for your photo editing tool beyond Photoshop. If you have Photoshop in your laptop at home, that's great. If not, I'm giving you this website, Photor, PHOTOR.xyz/editor. Where you can load photos in and do basic crops and edits on them, just like you would in Photoshop. You can't do quite as much as Photoshop, but you can still get the job done with them. Keep in mind, I will be on our class Zoom here between 9:30 and 10:45 on Tuesday and Thursday if you have questions or need help with anything with the final project. There's no assignment with the Photoshop assignment. I just wanted to get you guys a little bit of experience using Photor because you're going to need it for your final project. And also a reminder to read the SPJ and NPPA Code of Ethics. And on Thursday, there's a little training deck. It's just a little Google slideshow that's in your Week 10 folder to play through and look at the ethics of editing visuals. It's actually kind of fun. If we were doing this in class, I would actually quiz you on some of this stuff as we went along. It's kind of fun little exercise. But today we're just going to play around with Photor and Photoshop to edit some photos. So in your Week 10 folder, you've got a little thing up here that says Photoshop Practice. Inside that folder are some images here that you can take and download. So if you want to work on this on your own, I'll just take a little pause right now for about 10 seconds. So you can pause the video and then you can download all of your photos. So I'll take a pause right now, hit pause, and then hit play, and we'll come back on in about 10 seconds. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've downloaded your photos by now and have them on your desktop. Like I've got them over here. The tool we're going to play with first is called Photor, PHOTOR.xyz/editor. This is a free online photo editing tool. Works very similar to Photoshop. It doesn't have quite all of the tools there, but it still allows you to get some basic crops and edits and sizing done with your photos, which you'll need to do for your final project. So go ahead and hit Open Photo in Photor, and it allows you to download a photo. And what I'll go for here is this photo of Derrick Rose in action, former Chicago Bull, Derrick Rose. And you see this is a vertical image right now. I'm going to take this and actually crop it into a horizontal photo, and then I'm going to layer a little text over the top of it. So up here, it gives me some different tools: crop, resize, transform, filter, draw on it if you needed to draw on it for some reason. But I'm going to hit the little crop button up here. And it defaults kind of into the middle of his body here. You can actually take and draw this up and pull the little corners up to where you want them to be cropped. Now, I always do sports photos first like this because they always present some challenges with cropping. Notice you don't want to cut off the basketball. You don't want to cut him off, like in the middle of his wrist or middle of his fingers. Try and find a logical cropping point around the waist or something like that that makes sense. I can bring this down a little bit to give him a little room above his head. I don't want to crop right there and lobotomize poor Derrick. So I'm going to give him a little room above his head. So that's a pretty good cropping position. And if I've got it right about where I want it, it gives you some default crop sizes up there. Hit apply and it will crop the photo for you. Notice it leaves your original alone out here. This is a new copy of it, so you're not copying over your original file, which is something that you should never ever do. Next, I'm going to add some text on top of this photo. So I can click the little text button up here. I can go to the color picker. I'm just going to leave it at white for right now, and you can choose your font and things like that. I'll go with the sans serif type, and Roboto's just fine. And I'll go ahead and click on Add Text and double click to edit. You can layer your text in. You can always go back then to and change the color picker and your font or whatever. So I've got the text layered on top of it, and I hit apply. And you can also add different features, little backgrounds and textures and gradients and things like that. I'm just going to leave mine white, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that. Once you have your image done, it's time to export. And you go up to export and hit this little save button right here. And it gives you options, a PNG file. You'll want to export it as a JPEG file, and I'll name it. And hit the save button. Okay, another thing that you might want to do with this is also be able to go in and resize your photo. So I'm going to hit the resize button here. Notice how it's 2,387 pixels wide. That's way too big. When you're working in WordPress, you always want to size your photos down to 800 pixels wide. 800, in this case, 800.1 pixels. Notice how it maintains aspect ratio. So when it crops it and sizes it down, it actually takes it to its original size here. You can see it at 100%. And then I'm going to save it, Derek Rose 4. Okay. Always important to size your photos down. If you load something in that's 3,000, 4,000 pixels wide, like it is when you take it off your phone, you will always have a photo that is too big in Photoshop and it'll load really slow. So this Derek Rose 4 photo that I have right out here is the size that you want to bring into your WordPress. And if you think about it, it's about the width of your WordPress interface. That's why it fits almost at a 1-to-1 ratio there. So those are the basics of Photor. I want to show you Photoshop right now and some of the cool stuff you can do with Photoshop. If you happen to have Photoshop Creative Cloud on your laptop at home, I've got Creative Cloud 2018 right here. I can go in and open the files that I want to open. And I'm going to open this really bad photo of Karl Rove. Not that there's probably a good photo of Karl Rove, but a really bad one that we can do some color balancing on. Notice the little magnifying glass down here in the lower left. I can blow up this picture of him and make him look much bigger so I can do more detailed editing on him. And notice how he's kind of purple and has some pink spots in him. That's because he's made up of all these little dots here called pixels. And these pixels can be edited and the colors adjusted on them to make him look with a more common skin tone. He's sitting under some bad lighting here. If I blow something up like this and I want to make it shrink down, just hold down the Control on a Mac or the Option key on a Mac, excuse me, and it'll do a minus sign. And when I click on the photo, he'll size back down to 100%. It always says at the bottom down here what percent the photo is currently at. It's currently at 500. I'll take it down to 100%. So there he is. To adjust color balance, you can go in to mode or image, excuse me, adjustments, and there's brightness and contrast, levels, curves. I'd want to go to color balance and clean him up a little here. I want to remove some of the red from him, and you can just kind of eyeball this stuff in. I'll pull some of the magenta out as well, and you'll just kind of play around with it a little bit. I'll bring a little bit of the yellow in, just a tiny bit. And notice how he's much clearer now, a little more balanced. Another thing you want to do here is always sharpen your photo. So you do that under Filter and hit Sharpen. Sharpens him a bit. And then File, Image Size. You always want to check the size of the image. He's 220 pixels, which is perfectly okay. And this would make like for a good mugshot or something that's running in your story. Hit File, Save As, and I'll change it from Karl Rove Bad to Karl Rove Good. Hit Save. And you always want to go with baseline optimized or baseline standard. Never want to go with progressive because the photos will load differently. Either of these will work fine for the web. Baseline optimized I like a little better. It loads a little faster than the others. And then now you save it out to your desktop, and I've got a Karl Rove Good photo right up here. So that's the basics of using Photor in Photoshop. Again, if we were in class, I could do a little bit more with Photoshop. But again, I think you get the basics of Photoshop. And if you use Photor, I think it'll work really well for you when cropping and sizing your images for your final project. Remember, horizontal photos work best for your final project in Photoshop. Just go through the rest of the assignments and everything on our class Google Drive for this week, for week 10, and jump in during Zoom if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And also make sure that you get ready for when we get back from classes. We're going to use this format moving forward. So this is our digital schedule. Your video will appear right here that you're watching now. And make sure you read through those codes of ethics in that little photo slide deck on Thursday. And I'm really giving you that day off, even though I'll be in Zoom to answer any of your questions if you have any. So I hope you enjoyed this first video. There are many more to come. We'll see you.